coordinate an introduction with our colleagues that focus on utilities, so you can
Okay,
kind of get a separate stream going there. But yeah,
that'd be really good. And I can see you've pressed record, Andrew, so we're recording now as requested,
Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah.
that's great. Thank you so much.
So shall I just, I don't like using a lot of slides, but I have got just kind of the corporate deck, which we can go into. If I just zip that to the front and put it on presenter mode, is that showing up?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Let me just reduce or minimize all your faces. Move that over there. So Hyland, as I said, Brian is an American company. It's based out of Ohio, Westlake in Ohio, and it was founded in 1991. It's a private company. A family started the business, and there's the Hyland family, and they're still involved with the business now as well. But we are funded by Thoma Bravo, and
Oh, wow.
we have built the estate of products that we have through acquisition. So if you remember Alfresco as a product,
Yep.
Alfresco is in our portfolio. Nuxia you may not have heard of, but it was a big competitor of Alfresco's. So they acquired them, and they acquired a few other smaller ones over the years as well. But essentially, what we do is that we manage content, and that's really what we're doing for all of our clients in one way or the other, whether that be through OCR in document recognition, whether we're just managing it in a repository, whether we're collaborating and all that kind of stuff. Essentially, it's whatever content our clients have. We have the technology to be able to help them manage that. So our competitors are people like IBM with the legacy technologies that they had with CMOD, with FileNet. They were Documentum. It could be M-Files. It could be Microsoft with SharePoint. They're the kind of people that we tend to compete or replace in our clients. So employee wise, we're about 3,000 people globally, and I can see you just raised a hand already, Brian. Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, no, I just when you're talking about content
Yeah.
management, are you guys getting into projects with customers around unstructured data, data tagging, so that you can help them get prepared for generative AI type applications or
Yeah, the answer
AI
to that
use
one,
cases?
absolutely, yes. So,
Okay,
it's structured or unstructured data within the data that's coming, or the content that's coming into our repositories. Then it's doing all the metadata on there. It's doing all the tagging. We do the
oh wow,
automatic tagging. We can use any of the other technologies that might be out there from Google or Amazon that are doing that kind of automation tagging as well. So, yes, it's all the above, so to speak.
super, sounds timely.
Which is good, and I like that comment as well. So globally, 20 offices around the world. We've got 14,000 plus customers, and one of the big things, obviously, for this conversation is that we do work with a lot of partners. And I think my next slide kind of goes into that a little bit more detail. So, we have lots of partners globally. We have ones that are global companies, and we talk to them in each of the countries. Or we do have some very specialized ones that are specialized in industries. So, for instance, Guidewire on the insurance side, and we work with a lot of different partners. So, what that does do then, it increases our customer foothold. We 9,500 customers that we support with through partners. We've got 100 countries that we support them through, et cetera, et cetera. So, as Andrew will go into a lot more detail on this if we need to. The partner community is very, very key to Highland and the success that we have here.
So you work with Gartner. Sorry, you work with Guidewire, you said. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
We
So
we integrate our products with them. Well, Alan can tell me better than me, but
yeah, so we integrate with both Guidewire and Duck Creek because we see them as kind of two specifically in the UK, as two of the insurance specialist partners. Myself and Andrew have met with Gary Dunn, who heads up the sales team in the London. I wouldn't say we've had a lot of traction with them since that meeting, but our technology has already been configured to integrate with Guidewire, and we do have 4 or 5 examples on the logos that I'll show you that are already integrated with Guidewire, and that is with different technology from Hyland. So some of it is with Alfresco, some of it is with Hyland on base and things like that. So yeah, very, very strong relationship with them.
I got another question just in terms of partners. You know, there's all sorts of companies out there. We do all kinds of stuff. You know, there's the Googles, there's us, as integrators. What types of partners are you guys seeing the most success with? How are they interacting with you and the customer? Where are you guys getting the most traction and the most revenue from that perspective?
Do you want to say that one, Andrew, and then I'll...
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a mixed bag on that one, to be honest, Brian. We've got some really good specialists, I suppose you'd call them ISVs, that pretty much only sell our technology or they only work in our industry. Specialist, and so they end up selling to enterprise customers probably because of their specialization and the value they bring in that sense. Sometimes we can use a bit of a hybrid model as well, where we'll retain the relationship with the customer, but we'll bring the partner expertise as well. So we will sell alongside them. But we'll also work with, as Alan mentioned, Guidewire in the insurance space. We'll work with people like that as well, where we've got a native integration, depending what platform we're talking to the customer about. And then we'll also work with the AWS team. So we have a very strategic partner with AWS. So our platform as a service offering or SaaS offering is the back end of that is AWS. So we can co-sell with the AWS team as well, which is great for those guys because then that helps their sales team retire their quota.
Okay. So that makes sense. I can see it all coming together from I guess a component of the greater solution perspective. But just in terms of how we're working together, would we be reselling your licenses, or are we selling co-selling? So you guys capture your revenue and we capture our revenue. How's it? Is anything set up?
Yeah, I think that depends on the customer relationship. Who's got the customer relationship?
Yeah.
If Atos have got an existing customer that's got an interest in our software, you've got an MSA in place, it would make sense for you to resell it. But you don't have to.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
So you're open for both the options.
Yeah. So if you just want
license and services,
correct. If you just wanted to do the services, that would be fine as well.
Which is what I would expect anyway. That's how it would work.
Yeah, I'd just add on. I think it's a very flexible way of working. I've got customer examples where I have to direct conversation with the customer around licensing, but then we work very closely with the partner that's doing the maintenance and the support and the implementation. From a revenue point of view, I get recognised on revenue whether it goes through a partner or whether it goes direct. It's the same. I just follow whatever is really best for the customer. If a partner has brought me an opportunity, then obviously they have the option to be able to sell through the software in that sense and put some margin on it and make some money on that as well. But if that's not the suitable solution and they just want to get involved with the services, the implementation configuration, then that's fine. Again, we're happy to step back from a services point of view and allow you to just go ahead and do that.
And if you guys had a direct customer, would you be looking to put our services on your paper as well, or
if it was direct and they were happy, then we'll probably leave them as they are. But if they were saying, well, we're not, we want something more out there. But I think the benefit of working with a partner is that you've got lots more technology that's not Hyland, and that's the benefit. And if you've got one place where you can get all of those technologies brought together and supported in one place, then that's music to the IT team's ears at the customer procurement and all the rest of it. So we can have that kind of hybrid model in that we are still supporting you with configuration, with upgrades, with future stuff that might be going on with our software. But at the end of the day, the contract that is with the customer is yours. So you're priming, we're subbing. That works as well. So
yeah. And there could be situations where both of us would have contracts with the same customer.
Yeah.
And in those cases, we can look at creating some sort of a joint further growth
Yes.
in those customer engagements?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, from that bit, it's an account management role, and we kind of join up and we have regular reviews which includes our partners and ourselves, and we're doing that directly with the customer. So we've got that joined up approach, and we are, we're both looking for new opportunities. Obviously, I wouldn't want to be in a meeting where you're saying, well, I want to replace the content management with something else. But if you're going to say, well, we're going to move the AI into something that we're more comfortable with. We don't think the Hyland solution is suitable for that. But that's at the end of the day, that's fine. I'd rather keep a happy customer with what I've got and which I can deliver properly. And if there's something that's we do have that is not in the market as a market leader, then we'll kind of have that discussion. And if it goes down a different route, then that's fine.
Yeah, but we want to identify things that are going to benefit both parties in the partnership.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, we have got a big kit bag of technologies, and as you can see from the slide that's up there at the moment, we'll just talk about some of these use cases. We can fit into all of those things, and we want to grow these accounts. We don't just want to do a simple repository where they're putting their content and they're tagging it and finding it. We want to do a lot more of that. And in the insurance business, that's where they're going to start seeing the benefits. That's where, as Brian, from an insurance point of view, what they want to do, particularly on the claim side, is they want to be efficient. The more efficient they can be around a claim coming through, being paid in the right way, suppliers being paid, and all the rest of it. And you've got, at the end of the day, given the money to the customer who's made that claim, you've got a happy customer. Then you've got your reputation that's building and all the rest of it. So, and it all leads back to content and how they manage content, how they can get to it quickly, etc. So yeah, we're all about that kind of thing.
Cool.
So if we just this again, just in very from a capture point of view, so we can capture. I've got insurance companies that are capturing emails that are coming through on the claim side. We've got then some OCR sitting on top of there, so we're doing character recognition of the emails that are coming through. We're doing some automation around that as well. Whether you term that AI or not, AI gets a bit murky sometimes when you're talking to customers at the moment, because everyone's talking about AI in different ways. But essentially, it's automation. In an insurance, how can I get a claim that's coming through on an email to the right department in an efficient, quick manner for them to be able to do it? Is it a happy customer? Is it a complaining customer? All of those kind of things. So from a capture point of view, we've got a couple of technologies in there that can do that. We can manage it as it comes through. We can automate it, as I said, with those rules that are written and configured in place. And then you can put on top of that, you can then put some processes. So are there any processes that I can put on top of the business roles that the customer's doing that we can make quicker? And we can perhaps take some of the staff out of that, and we can process things through. So, paying, I don't know, in an insurance world, you're talking about vehicles being fixed. You've got lots of garages who are sending quotes through. If you're happy that things are going through, can I automate that? Can I just automate that process? Collaboration. So that's collaboration with suppliers. It's collaboration internally. It's collaboration with the customers of insurance as well. Communication as well. We tend to do on the communication side, so CCM, we tend to work with some partners. We've got Smart Communications who we tend to work with. I don't know if you've heard of those guys, but they're based out of London. We started to do a lot more with those guys, and on the insurance, met them a few weeks back at the Money Next event that was up in the XL in London. So we tend to do a lot more with them. Finding the documents, so being able to do a full text index of any content that you've got, to being able to find things quickly. So this is back to your point, Brian, about tagging and metadata and all of that kind of stuff. So, taking unstructured data and essentially structuring it in a way that you can then go and find it very quickly. And then putting all the governance on top of that. How long am I going to keep this document for? You've got all the GDPR rules, you've got all of the other governance rules around, keeping things, archiving, etc. So how can I make that efficient, and how can I follow the rules, and how I'm not going to get a fine from on the GDPR side.
Alan, this is both inbound and outbound correspondence.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And
So So anything that comes in paper, email, or unstructured, you can capture it, you can index it, associate it to a business process, extract relevant information, present it in a more structured way so that it can be easily consumed. You can also align that to automation in that sense of if there are some things which are, you can apply business rules on that and automate those. If there are something which can go straight through, you can do that, especially around the claim side of the fence. And also in terms of broker to underwriter communications.
Correct.
Those
Yeah.
are things
All of those kind of things.
that
Absolutely.
process.
And from an insurance business point of view, they're the kind of things that they want to have technology doing for them. And they can get a lot of that from our technology, our kit bag, as I said.
So you compete with the likes of Guardian, is it, or is it something different they do, or?
Well, the sort of two household name biggest competitors are OpenText and IBM. So OpenText would have their own products plus Documentum, which we would consider legacy.
Yeah.
And IBM have got FileNet, CMod, all legacy.
That's all legacy, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay. But Guardian was more modern one.
Guardian's it's more on the CCM side of things.
Okay.
So they're more of a competitor to smart comms.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they're
it's more communication going.
Yeah.
Out.
Yeah. The actual generation of documents.
Okay.
Yeah, Hyland did have its own communication software. It's called Coco, I think it was. We've only got a couple of customers out there, and that is a product that's kind of been sunset now. So we've been looking at partners in that area rather than trying to reinvent that ourselves and keep a product that's no longer really competitive. We're looking at.
It's good to place those companies in the right boxes. So.
Yeah, quite. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And I think. Sorry, Brian.
I heard a term on a podcast the other day called broccoli AI, and basically it's the kind of AI that's actually good and healthy for real world business, and I think a lot of the organizations out there, particularly in insurance, there's loads of opportunity there. Also in energy and utilities, they've got loads of data that's come in.
Yep.
They haven't really known what to do with it before because, it doesn't kind of fit into a particular category, from a tick box perspective.
Yeah.
But getting into this document management and tagging, and then feeding it into a RAG model or an LLM for fine tuning gives the customer an ability to gather all sorts of insights they might not have been able to gather before. And I do encourage you, particularly you, Alan, if you're in the energy sector, podcast is called Practical AI.
Okay.
And that particular episode is called Broccoli AI. But I think that you'll find it very interesting because the use case that they focus on is with an energy company and a data scientist on there speaking. But basically, I think a lot of customers out there at the moment, they're still trying to understand, how they can make use of the data that they've got within their organization. And a lot of that unstructured data can, it's just so rich. It's just an untapped resource for them. So,
absolutely. And I think, that's the kind of message that we try and get out there is that, the data is key to all of the business operations that they are doing. They've got to really go and work on that. And with insurance, one of the other things that we see, and I'm sure you've seen this as well, is lots of acquisitions within the insurance business. So we've had recently Allianz, acquiring LV. They've got their another bucket full of content that's coming from LV that now has got to be managed by Allianz.
Sure.
How do you start to amalgamate that together? And all the efficiency in they've all got their own processes, they've all got their own technologies. It's how can we consolidate that all into one place as well, make it more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I will just click onto the next slide. We've touched on a lot of these already. So up in the top left-hand corner there, you can see some of the partners that we do, technology partners that we do work with. So Salesforce, Guidewire, SAP, Workday, etc., all business applications that we have integrated with. Our technologies can be omni-channel, so all the mobile devices, as you would expect, we can integrate with those. We can also, through the collaboration tools, like we're on Teams now with all the Microsoft suite of products, etc., we can connect to those. From an industry point of view, we're only really kind of focusing on insurance and perhaps a bit of FS&I today, but we've got examples in healthcare, in education, and in the government. We've got big public sector clients of ours as well, and I know you guys are pretty strong in that area as well. We talked about that green line across the middle there, with the different functionalities. From a kind of enhanced capabilities, AI we've touched on there, and that can be talked about in lots of different ways. But blockchain, RPA, IDP, we've got DAM, so digital asset management functionality. That predominantly came from Nuxio. That was one of our strengths there in being able to, we always talked about we could manage pictures, videos, and audio in the same way that we could with textual content. So Nuxio can do that all in one place. So we've got lots of advertising agencies and Nike and people like that, Apple are customers of Nuxio. But in the insurance world, with a lot more predominance around things like dash cams and video evidence of claims, Nuxio can also manage that type of content as well. And to your point, Brian, it can also do automatic tagging of that as well with add-ons with things like from is it Amazon Recognition and Google Lens as well, and things like that. So you can link into those technologies to be able to do auto tagging on pictures and videos and stuff like that. From a how do we deploy? We have our own cloud. So with Nuxio and Alfresco, and now with Hyland on base, it's based on AWS. We use AWS as our kind of partner of choice in that area, but we're also very happy if it's a public cloud to go into Google Cloud. We can go into Microsoft Azure, and obviously AWS if they've got their own accounts there. And we've still got customers who want to have it on premise. So we're very happy to kind of work with them on that as well. Strengths, all the kind of usual words that you'd expect down the bottom here. We talked about integration, scalability. We can scale from small customers who've got not a lot of content that they're managing to billions of documents that might need to be managed in a very efficient way. Particularly from an Alfresco Nuxio point of view, we talk about low code. Both of those technologies are based around Java. They were both open source at the time, so it's more about configuration there rather than hard coding, but you can do both if you've got a very complex project. So both came from an open source point of view. Analytics, we set our own analytics on top of what we are managing to make sure that they're being managed in an efficient manner. So how many contents are there, who's accessing what when, all the history that sits behind that as well. So you've got that auditability, but we can also connect into other analytical tools that customers may have, like Tableau, etc. As you would expect, full security with single sign-on, etc. And usability. We pride ourselves in the ability for users to be able to run and do their business on this. Now I've got three questions now already. So Justin, do you want to go first?
Yeah, thanks, Helen. No, nice overview actually. And obviously a comprehensive solution set. Just coming back a little bit to the partnership you mentioned with AWS
Yes.
in the public cloud. So obviously you have a flexible deployment model, but you can, your back end for your cloud is AWS. Do you have any examples of where you have worked with AWS in the kind of insurance sector, where you've worked with their sales community? And the reason for the question is we have a very close working relationship where we jointly sell and work with AWS as well, and other scalers. But I was just interested if you had any specific examples of where you've worked directly with AWS and positioned Hyland's capabilities or sales to an end customer.
Absolutely. So So you're right. So on the Hyland side, we have that formal agreement with AWS, and when we're providing the PaaS, it's with AWS. So we don't get involved with the individuals on that side of things, but that's what we do. From myself and Andrew have also been nurturing our localized in the UK relationship with AWS. You'll have to remind me of some of the names, Andrew, because I've just come back from holiday and my brain's gone a bit soft, so I do apologise for that. But we went down to, so basically we went to the AWS Summit this year, and we met up with their BDM team, and we got introduced to a few individuals there. We've then also hosted them in Maidenhead, and myself and Andrew went down to their office in London as well. We've met, or we haven't yet met, I haven't yet met the head of insurance, who is
Luke O'Connor.
Luke O'Connor, but he was invited to an event. So I've been interacting with him on LinkedIn and through email, and he was hoping to join us at the Money Next event a few weeks back at the Excel, but didn't come along. We have met now with a few of his team. We've also met with the BDM team, so Alexandra, who's on the BDM team, and their CTO for insurance, who again has slipped my mind, Andrew. We met him in London. The CTO, the guy, individual we met in their London office, who's on their technology side.
It was Arno.
Arno, that's it.
Yeah. And Will Ireland, who was the accounting.
Will Ireland. So Will I've met a number of times, because we have some accounts that we own the relationship, but they use AWS. So it was nice to link the two together. So Will was interested in that, because obviously one of the things that Hyland benefits from is that we're in the AWS marketplace. So from a selling point of view, it benefits both ourselves and also the AWS rep if we sell things through the marketplace. So they've got add-ons to the Amazon services that they have, that they benefit, and obviously it benefits us if we say, well, it's in the cloud and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, marketplace is a big thing for us as well. And they're pushing it, as the other hyperscalers are, to drive these sort of sales through their marketplace for all the reasons we kind of know. Do you have any? So thank you for that. That was useful in terms of your interaction with AWS. Do you have any mutual customers that you could talk about?
Yeah, so we can go. I got some logos in a minute, which we can go through, and we can talk about some of those and the ones that are in the AWS environment. I think probably one of the biggest ones that we have is Aviva. I believe that's AWS led. It's also a Guidewire customer as well. So we have conversations with all of those partners. Now I know that is from an infrastructure point of view, TCS. It's a Tata customer, so it's probably one of your competitors, but that's an example where we all work together as one big happy family, providing the content there.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think Aviva is an Atos customer as well.
Well, I think it's big enough to be a bit of everything at the moment, but it's and I think this is the kind of conversation I like to be open on these kind of things, because there's no point in me talking about Aviva and then kind of hiding who we're talking to. I'd rather say, well, we talk to TCS. Aviva have chosen TCS as their partner of choice, and they provide a lot more infrastructure support for other than just ours. But we work really well. And if Aviva is one of your customers as well, then let's have that conversation, because there may be other bits of our technology that TCS are not providing at the moment that we could provide for yourselves.
Yeah, and on the Amazon side, we work with Nathan Garlick from AWS as the account. If you know him.
Yeah, we kind of engage across a raft of the sort of the vertical sales teams. So no, that's good to know. No, thanks, Alan. Appreciate that.
Cool. Dinesh.
Yeah, I have two questions, but before I go there, so TCS is also your partner, is it, Alan?
Yes. So so from a GSI point of view, we have customers who work with TCS, Wipro, Cognizant, and Tech Mahindra. You'd expect all of those guys to be out there. So we talk to all those.
Sure. So Alan, two questions, very quick. Epic that I can see on the top of the screen.
Yeah.
Is that the health record, electronic health record system?
It's the healthcare.
Yeah.
So Hyland is slightly strange in that it's kind of split in two. It has so really everything I've been talking about here is on the commercial side, and although healthcare appears on this slide, healthcare is actually a completely separate business within Hyland. So if Epic was something that was of interest to you, then we could put you in contact with our counterparts in the healthcare side of things. But there's a very, very strong relationship between Epic and healthcare Hyland.
And Epic, is it okay to talk about the customers that you have who use Epic?
Well, I can't because I don't know.
Okay.
But the team that look after those can.
Sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
My main
What's the
yeah,
introduction to that team, Sumesh? I can certainly organise an introduction.
sure, that's fine. That's fine. My main question was around Duck Creek. You did talk about Duck Creek when you were saying Guidewire
Yes.
earlier. Do you have examples of Duck Creek that you would be able to showcase later in this session?
At the moment, although so Duck Creek is something that we've integrated with. I think we've got some US customers or some other customers outside the UK that may be using Duck Creek. Andrew and myself have met up with Tim Spencer, who is the Duck Creek account manager, and I used to work with Tim at Pitney Bowes, strangely. So I've kind of rekindled that conversation relationship to see whether we can work together. What I'm seeing at the moment is that Duck Creek seems to be more kind of leaning towards the specialist insurance market, so the London markets, whereas Guidewire is a little bit more on the general insurance side of things, retail side. So we in the conversations that we're having tend to be having more conversations around Guidewire than Duck Creek, but it's not somebody that I kind of want to say no to, so to speak. But it's not as strong, I don't think, at the moment as Guidewire.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But yeah, I was keen to know. That's fine. Thanks.
But we have already proven that our technology works with that, and we do have the touch points in them. And as I said, Tim, I've worked with him in the past. So if a project came up there, we thought, well, we can all work together, then more than happy to do that.
So Sumesh, are you asking the question because some of your customers have Duck Creek and you want to position
Absolutely. Absolutely.
we can position ECM Hyland with them?
Yeah,
sure. I mean, if you've got customers with Duck Creek, at the moment we only have integration on our on-base platform with Duck Creek and not Alfresco and Nuxio. And it's certainly in the UK, Nuxio and Alfresco are the go-to platforms for insurance as far as we're concerned. And so as far as
how do you spell Nuxio?
Nuxeo. So one of the opportunities, and this probably not, I just mentioned it now, it's not necessarily the time to discuss it, would be we really need a partner to build the integration for Duck Creek and those other platforms. But we can only do it if we've got a business case to justify it for a customer. So, but if we found the opportunity to build that integration with either Nuxio or Alfresco or both, it doesn't matter. Then what we then have is we have the ability to build a joint campaign, go to market specifically on that solution, because there's going to be other customers that will have a similar requirement. So
have you identified the cost associated with building out that integration?
We haven't got that far.
Okay.
As Alan was saying, because they're more in specialist markets. We have got a use case in specialist markets, which is Nuxio, but it doesn't include Duck Creek, unfortunately, as far as we know. So, but
have you identified Nuxio customers that are also customers of like Duck Creek or?
I don't think we got that far, did we?
No, we haven't got that at the moment. We've got one. Well, our biggest customer that Nuxio has is PPL, so Placing Platform Limited, which is the technology that they use within Lloyd's of London. So you can't get any more specialised than that side of things. But it's the repository that they use in collaboration with some other technologies is Nuxio. but Duck Creek isn't part of that solution. Now, whether the individual brokers, underwriters, agents use Duck Creek, and that's then connecting in, we don't know at the moment, and that's one of the things we're trying to find out.
Well, that's an interesting one because that's a mutual account.
Yeah,
Right.
What PPL?
No, Lloyd's of London.
Lloyd's of London.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that's part of. Was it called Blueprint 2?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Blueprint 2 came out 5 years ago when they wanted to replace another bit of technology which I can't remember of. So I was leading.
You're part of Blueprint 2.
Yeah.
So I sold Nuxio in part of Blueprint 2. That's my fault. And I've also been on the journey because originally it was with CGI. So when they were looking for it, it was CGI with us, and I think Cognizant may have gone with Alfresco. So I was actually competing against one of my other technologies now. We won it with CGI, and Nuxio was the solution of choice. And there's things like Element AI was in there, Cisco. There was other bits and pieces in there. But PPL fell out of love with CGI, and it came back out into the market to be basically retendered. And Deloitte were the people that PPL wanted to work closer with. They liked Nuxio as a technology, so I was brought back to the table to work with Deloitte, and we effectively resold it. This time it was in the cloud. With CGI, it was going to be effectively on-prem, but in Azure that they were managing. But now it's cloud hosted by Hyland, and Deloitte have delivered that. It's live. It's very successful. It's growing very well. I think they're almost up to the maximum amount of content they're contracted for. It's good customer, good reference. And as you're probably aware, PPL is partly owned. So although PPL is set up as a separate company, it's partly owned by Lloyd's of London as well.
How do you expand PPO?
Placing Platform Limited.
It's a not-for-profit company as well.
Yeah.
Consortium.
But they're happy to be references and things like that if we need to get into that area.
They just seem like an interesting organization to kind of bring into. I'll have to figure out, a way of working them into a conversation because, I could see that a lot of credibility there and, a lot of value to insurance customers. So, yeah.
Well, it's one that, obviously the history behind Lloyd's of London and, the journey that they have been on from how insurance was managed, originally with all the paper content, etc. And then the transition into technology and embracing technology. And then with the pandemic coming across and being forced to do it more, because even in, just before 2019, they were still reliant upon a lot of physical paper contracts, being negotiated with individuals in offices and coffee shops and, all that kind of stuff. And, they really had to embrace the technology when the world changed, and being able to collaborate with a document that is essentially held within Nuxio. You can do all of your negotiation and your note taking and basically adding post-it notes to your contract when you're in that kind of negotiation with an underwriter and a broker, and that's all done on our technology now. And then all of that history is then kept, maintained for audit purposes. It's also kept because they like to also, if there was a marine requirement with a ship sailing with cargo from one port to another, they like to do a search on it and see whether they've done that before, whether the ship's actually been insured before, who do they insure it with, and they can look back on those kind of things by searching on Nuxio as well.
Yeah,
You guys have
that's good to know. I think it's a mutual customer.
Yes, indeed. Yeah,
and we can certainly explore possibilities. Other areas.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that we have a number of mutual customers. So.
Well, I was going to say on that point, shall I bring up? Let me just bring up some logos. So these are global logos. So I've got some American ones on here. So, you know, Nationwide, Liberty Mutual, Delta Dental are American. AO is South African. American Families up on that top right-hand corner is also American. If I take those global ones out and I just reduce it to UK, these are the ones that we have as clients here in the UK and Ireland, because we do have 3 or 4 of them in Ireland. And then what I've done is I've broken it down a little bit more to kind of I do this internally because it just helps me to know who looks after which account. But as I said, you know, PPL is our flagship client. You know, they're spending on software just short of $2 million a year with us on that, and it's Nuxia hosted. So, you know, sorry, Hyland hosted now.
Oh, wow.
So we provide that through our own cloud. It's AWS. And as I said, we've got this enhanced viewer that sits on top for doing
This is great.
collaboration.
This
Yeah.
is like the level of data that is valuable more so than like just a bunch of logos on a page. We can really start to.
Well, I'm glad you say that, Brian, because it took a lot of time to kind of go into this one. So I took on insurance business. I can't remember when I took it on now, probably last year or something. I kept going out to meetings and people say, who are your customers? So I started to put the logos chart together, and then I thought I'd go to the next level and get a little bit more background on this because
Love it.
It's good. So PPL, you know, is our flagship one in the UK. Aviva is very closely behind that one. That's Al Fresco. It's with TCS, as I said, but you know, they're $1.5 million client. They use that for claims management. So any of the claims that come through with Aviva are going through Al Fresco. They also use it for the repository for content that sits behind My Aviva. So if you're an Aviva customer and you go onto the web and you want to look up your policy, then essentially you're doing a search which is interrogating Al Fresco. When they use it for claims management, that is Guidewire. So, you know, Guidewire is the technology they're using for the claims management side. Right.
I don't mean to give you homework, but just wondering if this slide could be updated with to give us an understanding of accounts that you're working on with existing partners. So, you know, which ones are kind of off limits for the time being, and which ones are really, you know, ripe to go after. And I guess that could be, you know, a lot of these are really big companies as well. So, you know, FB, I don't know who they are. Aon, for example, you might be working, you know, really, you know, strongly with a, you know, particular partner in one division, but maybe not in another. So I think as we go through.
I was going to say, I think I've done a little bit of that homework, Brian, already, because as you can see on the services side, I've put in on the services who we talk to. So, you know, PPL is Deloitte, Viva's TCS. When it says Hyland, that's when we have that direct conversations with them on our software. But, you know, Admiral, for instance, you might already have Admiral as a client in other areas.
Oh, I see.
And to your point is, you know, even with Aviva, you know, I only have a very small part of their business. You know, our software isn't used in other things other than claims, and that's my role at the moment, is to try and get us into there. You know, how can we do that? Because as you know, with insurance, they tend to be pretty siloed. You know, the claims department do what they want. You know, the onboarding of new customers, they do what they want. You know, the interaction with all of the suppliers, you know, they have their conversation as well. So I need to grow it. And if you're saying, well, you know, we have Aon as a client already, at the moment, our interaction with Aon is through Iron Mountain. But, you know, if you've got a direct conversation there, let's have it.
So the way I look at this, right, we have RSA as a customer, but you're already working with Synapse.
That's only in Ireland.
Well, yeah. So that's an interesting one. So RSA is in Ireland. We've got a project that's actually going to go live in 24 hours, and that's with our partner Synapse, who are doing the configuration. The licensing was actually through Wipro, because the RSA Ireland had a very strong relationship with RSA Ireland. We don't do anything at the moment with RSA in the UK. And as you'll see from my next slide, I have RSA UK on there, as one of my target prospects.
Okay.
Okay.
And just another quick one for me. So the that's really useful though. I think, for example, Allianz, we're doing work with Allianz in Germany, but we're looking to kind of break in the UK. So to
Yeah.
be able to kind of map all this out, figure out where we can leverage each other, particularly if we're two partners that are working with a customer in another region, and we approach the customer and say, look, we're both working with you in this other region. We'd like to be able to do some work with you here. I mean, it sounds a lot better than, just two people off the street that don't.
Yeah. No,
But
absolutely. And Allianz is a good example because, our stronger relationship is in some of our other European countries on that side.
okay.
So we
My
get a very
question-
small amount
yeah.
here in the UK
My
Well, let's
question though is, so you guys are on the AWS web store, yeah?
on the
Um,
marketplace. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how are you identifying the customers that are purchasing through there? But maybe is that represented here, or is that kind of, a separate separate list of accounts that maybe are purchasing through the marketplace, but aren't.
So none of these have gone through the marketplace at the
Okay.
moment.
Yeah.
So whether they're using AWS or not, nothing's been bought through the marketplace. All three of our main content management platforms are now on the marketplace.
Okay.
Nuxio joined the other two recently, and I think that's kind of work in progress. I think
Okay.
that's the bit we're talking to AWS about is, how can we do some joint marketing now to notify clients that our technologies are in the marketplace, because as I said earlier, it benefits the account execs at AWS and it benefits us at Hyland as well in selling it through that way. So we need to encourage more.
That might be another thread to pull on as well, because we've got like partner funds, partner development funds that are available to us through AWS. So,
Okay.
you guys might have those available as well, and we could
Yeah,
put
we do.
together some sort of a joint campaign, where we're both, promoting, the products on the AWS marketplace. Chris Vance as well. He runs the marketplace, so he's an
Don't know that name.
ex-colleague of mine.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's something to scribble down, to explore, because that's free money for us.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's a good shout.
And I think, Andrew, we get the similar kind of thing benefit from AWS by doing that as well. So I
Yeah.
think this is the kind of discussion that we wanted to have is, how can we all work together to, reap the benefits of what we have there, with the customers. So
Justin
absolutely.
had to drop, but
Okay.
just for your awareness, Justin is the lead for the AWS relationship at Eviden.
Okay.
Right. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Because obviously the cloud, he said head of cloud sales. So, obviously, in the same way that we discussed about the partnerships that we have, do you favor any of the clouds over each other?
Oh, we
Or,
wouldn't dare.
yeah, fair enough. No, is
No,
it
we
like,
don't. We don't. I mean, the thing is, we have people who have. So, as a background, right? We acquired Cloud Reach. So Atos or Eviden, we have our own practice on cloud. As you can imagine, we acquired Cloud Reach. It's very much specialist on cloud, providing services, migrations, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Their major competency was with AWS. Right. So AWS is a very, very strong relationship.
Yeah.
We now have very strong Microsoft practice because we have people who are working with Microsoft earlier, people like Dan Batts who have joined us.
Yeah.
So very strong Microsoft practice. Google, I would say, is okay.
Yeah.
We don't differentiate between CSPs, but that's where we are with various CSPs. By looking at this list, right, and I think Sumesh probably wants to talk about. Just give me 1 sec, Sumesh, if you don't mind. So Allianz we touched upon. I think Allianz we have a global relationship. It's just not Germany. We work with them in Germany, Spain, France, many other places.
Okay.
We have relationship with Star.
Okay.
and we are now opening up in the UK as well.
Oh, nice.
QB, we have a relationship, very close relationship with David Jermaine, if you know him. It's a group CIO.
No.
We joined, who is ex-RSA, and he joined
Okay.
recently.
Oh, nice.
It's not an existing customer. We are working through with them. We're talking about a number of things with David and his team.
Yeah.
But I think that's where we are. But we can certainly explore if there are opportunities jointly for us in there. I can talk to the lead there. Davis, probably Sumesh can touch upon that they are the customers that he's managing. Admiral, again, we are looking at a workshop with one of their divisions, Admiral Pioneer,
Okay.
which is their the AI, or the new world products, and a fast moving beast, as they want to call it. There are a number of divisions, subdivisions within that, but that's where we are probably meeting in a couple of weeks' time. Their CEO, CTO, head of customer services, head of claims, etc., and presenting the proposition. So very much happy to kind of bring some of this content in there, if possible.
Yep.
I think those are the names which come to my mind immediately.
Aviva,
of course, we are, that's a large customer for us. But being very open with you, like you mentioned, they favor TCS and others. We are very much into the infrastructure space. So anything to do with infrastructure is us. They have clear boundaries between infrastructure and applications.
Sure.
And we are not in that application space at the moment, at least.
Yeah.
Structure player. And RSA, we can talk about it, but again, they favor Wipro, as you indicated.
They are, but yeah, do a bit more work in there and see what you can get.
Yeah. But I think there are certainly logos and customers where we can focus on.
You asked about Aon, right? That's serviced by Iron Mountain, right? I never said this, but anything that's managed by Iron Mountain is up for grabs. Okay, so if you've got a relationship with Aon, then we'll support you on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And not helping us at all. So, and they're not expanding any of the accounts. So as far as I'm concerned, they're under threat. So, and we need to, it's only a small amount of ARR, but with a company, with a business as big as Aon, we need to be doing a lot more than 42K in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I think, see, again, if you have a customer like Aon, and I'm thinking aloud here, we have a large customer with Willis Towers Watson. They are very much in the comparable space, right? They're the two biggest brokers in the market. Can we take some of that experience that you have with Aon and position it with Willis Towers Watson? Potentially.
Sure.
Right? And potentially our experience of Willis Towers Watson can duplicate at Aon. Aon is not an existing customer for us.
Right, okay.
It's a new customer.
Sumesh has been patiently waiting.
He has. Just very quickly, but to your point a minute ago, I think on that list of clients that you've spoken about, QBE is actually quite an interesting one, because although we do have a touch point there, it's with older technology. So if you're starting a conversation with the new team that's been put in there, then that I think that's worth a conversation, perhaps a kind of show and tell of what we have of different technologies with the right group in there, and see where that can take us anywhere.
Sorry, Sumesh.
No, I think Vinay, you were asking many of the questions that I had in my mind, and I wanted to tell that let us stick on to this slide and then don't go to further slides, because there are too many things that are coming up from this slide. 2-3 things, or maybe 2 things. Star companies, when you mentioned that, Star companies is group of multiple smaller entities. Would you be able to specify which among these companies that you work with, like Enstar, Atrium?
I don't think I know, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I think at the moment our contracts and contact points are all with Star. We don't. I will look back on my notes. I'm doing some work with them at the moment on some due diligence and some supplier questionnaires that they'd sent us. But I think we're more at the kind of the star company top level, if there is one, so to speak, rather than the individual companies that sit underneath.
Okay. Okay, we work with some of them, not all of them, and there are
Okay.
some opportunities, potential opportunities to get into some other star companies. So, Vinay, I have to discuss this with you in detail anyway later.
Yeah.
And Davies, the Asta acquisition that they had, did that trouble you in any manner?
So that bit again, sorry.
They acquired a company called as Asta. It's
That hasn't affected us at all. I think again we're probably just talking on the Davis side.
right.
I haven't been notified. They've recently renewed their Alfresco licenses. They're
They
actually
did.
on a very
Yeah.
old version of Alfresco, and they do pay for extended support, which is sometimes what we find with customers. Once they've got it up and running, and it just does what they need it to do, they tend to not worry about upgrading. They take hot fixes and things like that, but they don't tend to upgrade to newer versions. And Davis is an example of that, where they're just very happy with what they've got. So I haven't been contacted by them on any acquisitions at all.
Right. Right.
Quick question for Andrew. Our relationship, do we have a partner agreement in place? Is there any help that you need with anything around that?
Okay, so we've been around the house a little bit, Brian, on the partner agreement side of things. So
Yeah.
we have a partner agreement in France, I think Germany, where we've got mutual customers in those territories.
Yeah.
About this time 3 years ago, I was working with off the back of the conversation with Rajesh TV and his team at the time. We started working with Atos Global Alliances team about putting in place a global agreement, and we probably spent 18 months working on it, and then it just completely failed because Hyland legal are really pedantic and complex, and I believe Atos are probably worse. So I think what we were just trying to do was just bite off way more than we could chew. And so in the end, it was just a mutual agreement to end it. So what?
Schoolboy error.
Yeah. So when I reconvened conversations with Rajesh earlier this year and his team specifically, and then the started with Kieran, we agreed not to do anything silly like that. So we haven't got a UK agreement in place. We've got an NDA, I believe.
Yeah.
But the idea being is we'll build some pipeline.
Yeah.
And then we can see down the track that we know is going to bring us some revenue. Then we'll worry about the partner agreement. So we have.
It should.
It should be. Sorry, one more thing.
Yeah.
At the moment, Hyland, as far as partner contracts goes, is really siloed. So we've got. So if you think of the three basic platforms as being OnBase and Nuxio, Alfresco, we've got a separate for each of them, which makes no sense at all for companies like Atos, where you want to sell a solution and be
That's all right. That's all right.
So we've got a new partner agreement. I've got to review it today, which is technology agnostic. So it just makes you a business partner, and you can train and enable your team on any technology you need. And then we have the sales bit in as like an order form with the selling language as and when we do a deal. So it'd be much simpler.
I don't know whether that would be more complicated or less complicated, because then you got to involve legal twice. Anyway, I think you're right. Let's focus on building pipeline. I just wanted to gain an understanding as to where that stuff was. When it gets to a point, I can help you get this sorted pretty quickly. I know folks in legal and our purchasing organization, and they're super friendly, super engaging. So but yeah, much easier to get something done here locally than to go like the global route.
Yeah, we have to focus locally. I think there is no doubt about that.
No, exactly. And I'm pretty sure that the main competency on the ECM practice within Atos is on Alfresco. So we could make life simpler, just focus on that. But I think really what we should be doing is just taking it on its own merit.
Yeah, I think if you are happy to have a broader agreement, I'm just back of my mind, I have Lloyd's, you have
Yeah.
Axio there. I'm sure you're working with Deloitte and others in that sense, but if there are opportunities in the wider frame, we don't want to be kind of not doing it.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Sumesh has a number of customers in the Lloyd's market.
Yeah.
Space.
Okay.
So
That's
something
good.
like Atrium, etc., etc. So
Yes. Yeah.
it just makes sense to potentially see how we can leverage some of that relationship and some of the work that you've done in
Agreed.
that market.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if we go down the road with Atos and this AI thing I was saying about at the start of the meeting, then you'll need to build up Nuxio competencies to do that, in addition to the alfresco competencies that you've already got.
Yeah.
So because there are customers in Europe that are supported by Atos.
So Alan, just to complete the thought process on the customer side, I'm conscious of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have other customers like Aegon Asset Management.
Oh yeah.
Just quickly on that point.
Yes.
I'll let you finish up in a minute. That if you just see on that chart I've got in the moment under Aviva, there's two little blank spaces there. We've no, I wouldn't say lost them. They've gone away at the moment because they thought that they could do what they were doing with Alfresco themselves internally. So
Okay.
if you've got a relationship with Aegon, I'm very happy to talk to you about them and see how they're getting on, whether they have chosen something else other than our technology. But I'm kind of waiting for them to come back at some point.
And when you say Aegon, that's Aegon Asset Management, yeah?
Yes.
Many different parts of Aegon.
So I'd need to go and check that. But the team were based mainly in Ireland. I can kind of share some names with you, which might help of individuals. But we had a meeting with them. They've had a change of personnel in there. They wanted to go into the cloud, but the configuration and management of the content that they have, they've decided to kind of bring it all in house and do it themselves.
Schoolboy error.
You can only just tell them, can't you?
Yeah.
What about others like Chubb? Is that something?
Well, let me.
They're a prospect.
Well, I was going to say, let me come off this chart, and so just to finish off, really, and then to your point, these are kind of my focus ones. So these are ones that we might jointly be going after. So we had at the beginning of the year, without one of our reviews, have to come up with a list of 10 accounts. So this is my 10. We got Beasley on there, Ecclesiastical, Hiscox. Chubb is an interesting one. Chubb is very set in its ways around old technology. They use IBM. I think they're using FileNet. More than happy to get and talk to those guys. RSA UK is on there. Legal in General, they keep kicking the tires every year and coming out and saying they want to do some changes, but haven't yet. Although we have got a bit of an interesting conversation going on with them around previous RFPs and the fact that they kind of had chosen Alfresco as the technology of choice, but then the projects just kept getting delayed. So we're just seeing whether we can do anything around that. And then on the kind of right hand side, Direct Line, Farmers Union, Royal London, and MS Amlin. MS Amlin, I think, might have gone away. We got a comment from one of our partners saying that they may have chosen Box as a technology there. But so that's my target list. But I'm always open for ideas. If you've got any other ones that you
and any of these, Alan, you are already working with a partner there.
I wouldn't say that I'm working strongly with any partner on any of these. They have come up in discussion. I've shown this chart to other partners, and in the same way that we've just shown on that previous one with Aviva and at Aegon and others, everyone with these big companies has a little touch point. Whether it's the touch point that is where our technology needs to be, we don't know, still to be determined. But we're not, we haven't got any contracts, we haven't got any projects on the go at the moment with any partners on any of those accounts.
Yeah, Beasley, I know people there. LNG and Chubb, we've got great relationships with. So and others, which the guys can comment on. But I think, from my perspective, just in the interest of time, I think it'd be good for us to share as well, give you guys a view as to, which customers we're working with, which ones are our targets. Also, like, what are some of the propositions that we're taking to the insurance market?
Yeah.
And then from there, we can start to kind of fit the gears together.
Yep.
So what you guys are taking to market, how we can complement that as an SI, and then aligning, mapping together our accounts that we're both either in or jointly, we can jointly focus on breaking into, and then I think it's coming up with the proposition, building
Yeah.
out that kind of one pager that we can send out to the customer to say, look, this is how we're aligned, this is how we can, bring benefit to your organization. And then, it's all about seeing what sticks.
Absolutely. Just going back to the QBE, conversation we were having a few minutes ago, you've got meetings coming up with individuals that are new to the business. They've come from other companies. They may be bringing over technology that they're familiar with. But if it's an open mind, all I ask is that you go into those meetings and you start talking about content. And if a light kind of suddenly comes on and they think, yeah, we need to get our heads around this, we need to sort something out, then that's the point when we can perhaps have that conversation, work together, go and have that joint meeting, etc.
This is the start of all my conversations around generative AI, because number one, there are traditional data sources that everyone's accustomed to, but the non-traditional ones can be just hugely rich and bring such amazing benefits to these organizations. Again, I think, Alan, that Broccoli AI podcast will kind of start to highlight that number one, there's rich data that sits within these organizations that's just untapped. But number two, they don't need some crazy, GPT-4o model to be able to support those. They can be supporting these or deriving insights, through a really low cost, fairly inaccurate model. The one that they were using in that podcast was only right like 40 to 60% of the time, but that's all the customer needed.
Yeah.
So, we might be able to get in and, help the customer to realize these sorts of things, and, might be able to, get a conversation started about a project, or, maybe it opens up the door about an existing project that they've got, and, we can start a bit faster, but,
Yeah. Well, good AI starts from good content. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the other customers, right? And they're primarily from some of the cloud reach acquisition that we come up with, and there are other acquisitions that we have which we can talk about.
Yeah.
There are companies like Howden. Have you kind of looked at them and discounted them? It will be good to understand.
Yeah, I
Send you a
don't.
list of a few accounts, and if you already have a knowledge of something like Amlin, right? They have already decided on Box, to stay away from them.
Yeah.
But it's good to kind of understand, people like Howden, people like Exeter, where there are the Exeter, which is existing customers. Bupa, we have some existing engagements with them from a ServiceNow Engage ESM acquisition that we did. So it'll be good to understand, your views on those. They're not on this list.
Yeah. No, well, as I say, this list, I just had to come up with 10 focus accounts, and so there are no insurance companies that I would not, I would turn away. Put it like
as
that.
long as somebody writes a check for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
No problem,
If they want to talk and they're going to spend some money, and I've got something that's going to help them, then I'll have a conversation. Howden's I did look at. It just, I was kind of doing a little bit of due diligence to come down with these 10. I've looked at different kind of things like Tech Data and Zoom Info and stuff like that to kind of see what people have got, other technology they've got. Right back to the beginning of the conversation that we started today with, Andrew's comments around, transformation of legacy technology. you know, a lot of the insurers have old technology out there that is not keeping up with all of the things that they want to do now, like AI, going into the cloud, being able to use it on mobile devices, etc. So, you know, they're the kind of ones that we can kind of have conversations with, because we can do all of those things. We can integrate with the other technologies that they are, you know, are specialized and they perhaps want to use a lot more. So I wouldn't turn anyone away at the moment. I think, you know, I'd even have a conversation with Aegon if they came to the table, even though they want to try and do their own thing at the moment.
I'm just posting a link in the chat. So
Okay.
as I think there's a few actions that are going to come out of this, but one of the things that I'd like to do is set a call up. We've got a practice within the business. It's an acquisition. It's a company called Data Centix, and they do lots of work with insurance customers. You'll see some of their logos on the page there. They match up with your slides as well. But I think you know, these guys, you know, they're getting into you know, fraud detection and just lots of advanced analytics, you know, offerings or solutions that they've built for insurance specifically. And I think that they would be interested in understanding, you know, what you guys are doing around, you know, content management and data tagging and things, and, you know, how that can benefit some of the customers or some of the solutions that they've taken out to market and or landed. And
Sure.
you know, I think that there could be opportunities with existing customers. There could be opportunities with, you know, customers. You know, there's frameworks in place with customers that we haven't necessarily, you know, done business with yet, but we've got the framework there. So it could spark some really interesting
No, I appreciate that, and I've clicked on the link.
After this, sorry, but coming
No,
to specific actions, we're into the last 5 minutes now.
Yeah.
So I think one thing is we need to partnership. Let's keep it aside right now. Let's and then we take it from there.
Yeah.
Which will be so whatever your slides, Alan, can you send us across? Numbers away or whatever, you know, it's your choice.
And obviously, you know, that last slide with the logos and the revenue amounts is all under the NDA. You know, please keep that with the team that's on here and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it's fine.
Likewise.
So let us identify some of those for joint pursuit.
Great.
What I'll also do is, we are not touched upon some of our customers. So for example, legal and general, we are having some conversation. That's not a customer yet. QB, we are having conversations. So we can fold in these discussions with the conversations that we're having with them. Allianz, we can certainly look at the global CEP, talk to him, and then see how we can position this with Allianz. Same thing with RSA. Star, if we can get some more intel about where you are on Star companies, we can align with where we are working with Star, and then see how we can kind of connect the dots. Chubb, Howden, Coupa, they are existing customers for us. We can see if we have any intel about what they have at the moment. Chubb, I know they use FileNet.
They do.
Chubb, we are working with, I'm discussing it with Neil Collis, who is head of application development, reports into Ann Davis, who is the CIO. On that front, that's a Chubb general organization which manages massive applications for them, and this is one of those massive applications for multiple regions. So whether they are willing to even look at that and replace, I'm not sure yet, because that's going to be a massive program for them. But we can quickly find out and then qualify in or out. But then others are like Howden and Bupa. Let us assess. Howden, we have a very long relationship, large relationship.
Sure.
But if you have any intel around these customers, it will help to kind of qualify in, qualify out, because we don't want to focus on 10, 20 customers, right? We want to focus on a few.
Great.
Okay, good. Hello, Escher. These are also customers of Data Centix.
Okay.
Generali.
Yeah, so I was going to say I looked on that. I clicked on the link and I could see that Generali was on there and Allianz already listed as their logos.
Yeah.
So I will take a deeper dive into that, and yeah, thank you for that link.
Yeah, I'll take that action to set that call up with David, who's the lead over there.
Alan, everyone, I just need to get off to another customer call. So it was great. It was great talking with you all, and it was
Yes.
truly. I think we will have to continue with this conversation. There are a lot of threads that is happening.
Yeah.
I'll scrape the transcript and send out meeting notes as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks, everyone. We'll talk.
Fantastic. Great to meet everyone. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Let's do that. Cool. Thank you. Yes.
Right, so thanks, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Bye bye.
See you soon. Cheers. Bye.
All right. Sounds good. Cheers. Bye.